The next topic is array of objects. I hope all of you know that what is array. Array is like a collection of variables. Okay, and the properties of array is that all the variables are stored consecutively to each other. There is no space between the different variables inside array. So let's suppose if we have array of okay, one thing more, array is a combination of variables. So how many locations will be there, how many variables will be there, that is called the size of the array. So size of array is represented in these brackets. Okay, for example, here the inventory, this is array, but this is size of the array. Okay, so never confuse, later on we will use subscript also, so I will explain to you that one later. Normally we are using different types of variables inside array, but now in this case, in case of objects and classes, the array is a collection of objects. Okay, so if we can store variables in array, so similarly we can store objects also in array. Okay, so the size of array is represented by this number. If you are using a constructor, let's suppose we have array of objects and then we want to initialize the array of objects through constructor, then it will be like this. So you see, for example, here the array has size 4, inventory item 3, so sorry 3, this is the size of array now, and this is equal to, then here 3 constructor will call. Okay, the constructor will call 3 times, one time and all the 3 values, another again and all the 3 values, another again and the 3 values. Why it is called 3 times? Because we have 3 objects inside this array. So the first time call for the first object, the second time call for the second object, the third time call for the third object. Okay, so this is one way. This is another variation in constructor. For example, as we know that constructors are overloaded, constructor may have different number of arguments. Okay, so in that case you can initialize like this. For example, the first object you just want to initialize with the first value. Okay, and you don't want to provide the rest of the 2 values. Okay, so this value will go to the first object, and the rest of the two locations, the 2 variables private data in the first object will become empty. The second time constructor is called, and this time it provides all the 3 values. So the second object will be initialized fully, it will provide all these 3 values. The third time will also just provide the first value, and the other 2 value will be empty. It's a bit complicated, but I will try to explain while I'm typing the example. So how to access objects inside the array? So objects in array are referenced using subscript. Okay, subscript is the index value like this. Okay, so array name, then the subscript is composed of brackets and a number. This time this number represent the location inside array, and then the data operator, and then you can call some function. So it means that this array have several objects, but we just want to call this function only for the third object. Okay, only for the third object. And in the second line, we just, this array will have several objects, but we just want to call this get unit function only for the third object. Okay, so this is the theoretical backgrounds of array. Let me show you by practical example. Okay, so let's start and let me show you one example of array of objects. Okay, so this is the same example that I have written before, the same book class, the 4 private data members, default constructor, the other constructor. I think I should delete this one because I didn't use it. Okay, uh, and this constructor, and the set data function, the get data function, and the destructor. And here if the function I have defined. If you have forgot the concept of array, then let me just give you a quick introduction of array. Mostly we are using array like this. For example, if we want to define array of type integer, and let's suppose um, it stores some values like scores, let's support. Okay, scores. Now how much big this will be array? So this will here we are typing the size of array. So let's suppose if I want to type of size 5. Okay, so this is called the uh, declaration of integer array. Now if I want to initialize this array, then the initialization is like this. Then I will put here equality, and in a curly brackets I will have to define I will have to provide 5 integer values because the size is 5. Okay, so I'm just simply putting 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 and 5 and bracket. So yeah, this is called initialization of the array. Okay, one way. If you don't want to initialize the array, if you want to just declare like this, okay, then after that you can actually initialize individual location also. For example, score. Okay, score, which location you want. For example, 0, and I want to initialize this one with the value 10. So this one location I initialize. And in the same way, score, and which location, which index you want to initialize. Let's suppose 1 with the value 2 semicolon. So this is the way how to access the individual location inside a memory, sorry, inside an array. Okay, so this array is a simple array: name of array, size of array, type of array. Okay, and then how to access individual items. So the individual item, this bracket and the number inside is called the size. Why it is called the size? When we are declaring the array at the first time, that time it represents the size. After that, when we are using later on, this time the bracket and the number inside this represent the index. Okay, so these 5 locations, these 5 value will be stored adjacent to each other. The first location will be 0, the second 1, the 2 and 3 and 4, like this. Okay, so this is the general concept of array. In the same way, if you want to display, for example, cout, okay, so which location you want to display, then the array name score, okay, and inside this score which location. Let's suppose 4th one I want to display. In the same way, if you want to see in, okay, you want to get the value for some specific location using keyboard. Okay, so you can do like this, that see in for which location, score, let's suppose for the 3rd one, semicolon. This is the general concept of array. Now here we are using integer values. What about if we use objects, like if I replace the int by book? So now it says it shows that we want array of size 5 but of type book. Okay, so this array will store 5 books, 5 objects of type book. Okay, but this initialization and this accessing is wrong now. The C out and C in are okay, but the rest are not working because we need to provide the values in different way. Okay, because the first value is a string, it should not be integer. Okay, so how to do this? It will be like this. Let me clean this out. Okay, so here I will do like this, that let's delete this. Okay, so book. Now I want array. So the array I should say like store. Okay, store, and the store will have books. How many books? For simplicity I am just using 3. Okay, semicolon. So it means I created an array of objects of type book. Each object inside this array is of type book. Okay, so actually each location, each object has these 4 values. So at the first location these four values will be stored, and in the second location the 4 values will be stored, in the third one, and so on and so on. Okay, so if you want to initialize this array through constructor, then it will be like this. Okay, first, to don't be confused, okay, curly brackets, how many objects we have? 1 comma 2 and the third one. Okay, and then if you want to use constructor, so the constructor is what? The constructor is book. Okay, so book, and inside the brackets you need to provide the values. Okay, the first value, simply type C++, C++ book, sorry, C++ book. Okay, so this will be the first value. Title, the author is who? Someone. The third object is the publication date, that is also a string value. Let's suppose 12 June 2018. Okay, and the 4 one is price. Let's suppose 30.30. Okay, so you see one complete constructor for the first object in this array, then comma, then another complete constructor. To save time I will copy this one again and pasting here again. You see another constructor again and another constructor again. So if you are not sure, then it is not visible like this, so let me bring like this. But all these are let me do like this. All these are in these curly brackets. Okay, this is the way to initialize array of objects. In these curly brackets are all these. I hope somehow will be not confused. No need to put comma after this because this one is the last one. Okay, so let's run this program. If we run it, yeah, you see this is the output. The destructor is called 3 times. We have not called any other function yet. This is why there is no output. But the question is why the destructor is called 3 times. I have given the answer in the previous segment, so I hope you can understand why. Now if I want to call some specific specific functions using specific object inside this store array, then it will be like this: store which object I want to call with. For example, I am calling with the third one. Okay, the third one has the price 100. Okay, so if you want to call object call functions, then dot operator. So store to dot get data. This get data function don't have any argument, so no need to type any argument, just like that. So this time we will have uh, output. So let's try again. Yeah, so you see the title, the name, and the price is 100. Only the third one has been called. Okay, the other one is not called. You, if you want to change, you can try 0, 1, and 2, but not more than 2 because the size is 3. Okay, so the conclusion is that we can create an array of objects, and if we want to initialize through constructors, then it will be like this. And if you don't want to initialize through constructor, okay, then it is possible like this also. That okay, let's delete this part now, just create the array like this. Okay, now after that you can initialize like using the functions. For example, store which object you want to initialize. Let's suppose the first one I want to initialize with dot get data, and you should remember that the get data function needs arguments, for arguments, so we will have to provide. So it will be the C++. Let's suppose the book is object oriented programming. Object, this is the title. The author is, let's suppose, me. I hope I want to write a book about C++, but don't have time. Okay, so the third one is the publication date. So it is also a string value. So let's suppose 30 May, very recently, 2020, and the price is very cheap or very expensive. Let's suppose 20.40. Okay, so uh, I I use array, but the first object in this array, and then call the function. Okay, now here I should also change the object name because we initialize the 0 one. So let's change this one also to 0, and let's try to run again. Oh, there is some error. Store was not declared in this scope. What does it mean? My spelling is wrong. My spelling is wrong. Sorry. You already know. In function int main store 0 dot get I called get data, set data. Sorry, get data don't have any argument. It should be set data, and get data will display. Yeah, so you see object oriented programming, the author, the publication date, the price, and destructor is called 3 times. I hope you know why. Okay, so this is the topic of array of objects. I hope you understand the topic, If anything, we will discuss tomorrow in a class. So that's all for this topic.